looks at them.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's talk about the EACC dirty list that we're talking about, and this is now about a legal perception from both of you. We'd like to hear what your thoughts are, legally speaking. So the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission will Friday announce the fate of 241 aspirants for various positions flagged by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission over corruption-related allegations. But Chebukati, however, stated that the commission would then strictly adhere to the provisions of the law in clearing the aspirants as they await the outcome of a case seeking to bar leaders facing integrity questions from seeking elective positions. Is this a possibility, Kipchumba, from where you stand, that if a leader is facing any corruption or integrity questions, they can be barred from elective seats?
I think, Trevor, at times we must stop being idealistic and be practical.
Yeah.
Number one, this integrity and Chapter 6 ceiling was shattered when we allowed the Uruto ticket to run. That case shattered the whole thing. So at the end of the day, that is where we need to begin from. Yeah. Because we cannot now start clawing back. That is where the problem began. Yeah. Number two, EACC have no authority to bar anybody from running. They can just list of shame and all that. But their right avenue is not IBC. It is the courts of law. If they have a feeling that Kipchumba is corrupt, they don't take my name to IBC. They take me to court of law. They give me my day in court. I defend myself and all these other names. What will happen now after this, Trevor? And if you read the things they have written in those names, others are hogwash. I read somebody known as Adelina Mwau that they are investigating if she resigned from office to go and vie. Is that something to put somebody in a list? What will follow suit is that the amount of libel and defamation cases that will, the demand letters EACC will receive this week and next week will even be more than the cases they have handled. Because you cannot have my name in that list of shame on the basis that you are investigating whether I resigned. I even saw somewhere they're investigating whether somebody resigned from a private, he had been employed by a private firm. So at the end of the day, we really need to get EACC to do their job. The job of knowing whether, you know, the principle outside there is that don't over-legislate on democratic choice. That if people, and that is why when you read through the case on academic qualifications, there was a standing argument that don't over-legislate or don't put so many laws around politics. It does away with the Article 38 right, our political rights. I have a right to choose from a very huge array of leaders. Number two, Kenyans are bright people, Trevor. If EACC was to do its job, Kenyans know one who has been taken to court, who has not. What they can do, which they have within their right, is to write to EACC, to IEBC, that we have an issue with the following names, not to tell them to bar them. Where do they derive the power? Because the issue of barring somebody is that has to be a function of a court of law, because I cannot investigate you and prosecute you at the same time. That is why investigations is done by DCI and EACC. Prosecution is done by the office of the ODPP. The decision whether you are guilty or not is done by a court of law. So when did the EACC now become the investigator, prosecutor, and the adjudicator, so that they know nikishika faili ya Trevor Ombija nimejua aliiba tayari simame kura? No. And then look at what the law says also. If I have been taken to court and I have not exhausted my appealable chances, I am supposed to vie. That is why there are people who have cases with academic qualifications and they still vie, because the law has accorded them. And this is how the law works. You have, the presumption of innocency works in a manner that I cannot deny you enjoying your rights on the suspicion that you are not innocent on a certain case. You must continue enjoying those rights and liberties until I make the determination, and this has to be made by a court of competent jurisdiction. Yes, it is not a court of law. So at the end of the day, I say it is a wish list. But what it will cost me, you, and Joy, because when defamation suits land, when they come in thick, you will come to our taxes. So at the end of the day, somebody also at EACC must exercise wisdom, and at least understand the workings of the law.
Yeah, is that your reading as well, Joy? Is EACC and IEBC involved in a circumlocutions argument, so to speak?
Is that what you call Kisungu Muzito? Or where you come from, Malawi?
You know, the IEBC at this point is receiving reports and confirmations from various institutions that are charged with the various clearances that we call them the Chapter 6 clearances. OHELB, KRA, and all these other guys. And I think, in my opinion, EACC is just trying to show that, you know what, yeah, we are doing something. We're not just asleep, we're doing something. But I agree with Oliver. Their part in doing something is in prosecuting these matters. They were given the powers to investigate. They were given the powers to build files. They were given the powers to take these files to the ODPP for people to be taken to court because they are the ones who are supposed to investigate corruption cases. However, it's not just the Uhuru ticket that clawed back Chapter 6. The passing of the Leadership and Integrity Act also did the same, because what it did, that's where we wrote in the law that if you have a conviction, if you still have a chance of appeal, and you're in the process of appealing, then you really, there's no problem. Just keep vying until the day you're done with your appeal. Now, no other person in this country enjoys such latitude apart from politicians. Right now, if, Trevor, you're convicted of an offense, you remain convicted of that offense until that conviction is overturned by another court. But the Leadership and Integrity Act turns the law on its head and decides, you know what, for politicians, we're a special class. We can be witch-hunted. So even if we have a conviction, until we are done with the Supreme Court, we are perfectly fine.
10 years.
Yes, we are perfectly fine. That's why you see Waluke goes, serves a little bit, comes out bail pending appeal. As long as there's an appeal pending, Waluke is on a ticket. IBC has cleared him. Dude is going to be on the ballot. So until we get politicians who are going to give the spirit of the law to the Leadership and Integrity Act, what you are seeing now as Chapter 6 remains nothing but an aspiration. It's something that Kenyans really want, but can never, ever have. And we've gotten ourselves into a situation where we are letting the people who we're trying to bring political hygiene, but the guy we are sending with the brush, the mop that he's using is already dirty. Now, it will take legislators who will rise above themselves, who will say, okay, fine, even if we are victims of a witch hunt, we are man enough to say, you know what, this law is not good. Let us make this law what it is supposed to be. Because Kenyans had that idea of, if you are impeached because of corruption, that should be the end of your political career. That's what happens in other jurisdictions. The moment you're removed from office because of abuse of office, that's it. Even us in our legal profession, you touch clients' money, you go through the process, you're struck off the role of advocates, you're struck off the role of advocates. But when we start tweaking those two laws and saying, you know what, if you pay back the money to the client and he says he's forgiven you, we can put you back in the role. Then the hygiene is spoiled, and that's what we have with our EACC. So I looked at the list, and what the EACC has done and what the civil society have done with the red card campaign, same what's up. It's populist, it's very nice. We really wish they could go somewhere with it, but it has zero effect, because at the end of the day, if IBC purports to deny people tickets because EACC said so, forget about the EACC getting letters. Even the IBC will start getting letters. And theirs now will be quick fire. Those, you know, those orders that they go and get and come and serve Kesho, and they have to reprint all the ballot papers that they did not print. Those are the orders they'll get. And I know the IBC, being led by a lawyer of Chebukati's years and standing, will not succumb to that. They'll receive the report politely. But I do not see it going anywhere. So that list, yes, it's where we want to be. But it ain't going to happen.
But we're not going to get there. But the perception it creates, Kipchumba, because this is also coming at a time when the Interior CS himself said that if Kenyans are not careful, they will elect more than 40% of criminals and money launderers. Those were his words.
Before even Kipchumba goes there, that one, there is a scripture for it. Let him who is without sin cast the first stone. Politicians. You say 40%. Me, I think it's a whole bloody lot. Is there anybody there who can say, by the way, there's nobody who has ever been corrupt, ever? You may not have been mentioned in a scandal. But when it comes to corruption, it comes to crooked dealings, it comes to even civil servants, when they started doing business with government. I mean, we have a problem with our hygiene inside our leadership that needs somebody else from outside to come and clean it up. So even when he's saying, oh, you risk electing 40%, I'm like, you know what? Right now we are scraping the bottom of the barrel as far as political leadership is concerned. Almost all our politicians lack the moral fiber to point at somebody else. That being the case, therefore, let us just choose the best of the worst, if that's what we've come to.
Is that what you're also resorting to, Kipchumba, choosing the best of the worst?
No. There is something I don't understand in this country, Trevor.
Yeah.
You are given work as a farm manager.
Yeah.
But you come out and tell us, in this whole farm, people are stealing jembes. What is your work really? So you resign and go home. We gave Matiang'i the work to be in charge of internal security and all those things. He has no business telling us that there are wash people and nini who are vying for positions. We have not seen those wash people being from my to court, which means those DCI police are failing us. So he should not be there in the first place. Number two, when you are given a job to do as a minister, you are not a preacher. You know, when you are preaching, if people don't heed to the word of going to heaven, you will just say, Mungu umesikia nilifanya yangu. You have the power to arrest people. You have the power to commence investigations. It is only that the people, now at times, you have to agree with them though, because the people who ate COVID money are still singing about corruption in these podiums. The people who supplied us with the empty containers in the names of clinics are still in our political space. So you have to agree with Matiang'i, but the buck stops with him to arrest some of these people because he cannot just complain like me and you. And that's why at a personal level, I have a serious issue, even with politicians who rant on Twitter, because I can't rant on Twitter and you rant on Twitter. We elected you to go to parliament. Legislate your rant. So the same way with Matiang'i, go and effect whatever you are saying. Arrest these people so that even if we are saying the wash people and all these money launderers, at least if he was saying court is taking too long to find them guilty, I will understand him. But now he's just saying, you know, we have 40% will be this. But at the end of the day, when we demand so much money also from politicians, Kenyans are the part of the reason why this thing is rampant. Kenyans demand handouts. And we know, Gonya, all these things are handouts people demand.
Innocent to experience talking.
Yeah, he's been there.
If we ask for money, do you think politicians sell their land, their ancestral land to come and campaign? No, they must get it from somewhere. So at the end of the day, we really need to be honest as Kenyans, sit in a table like this and ask ourselves, anywhere there is an input, anywhere there is an output, there must be an input. I cannot give you money, Trevor, and I don't have Delarue in my house. It must come from somewhere. So it's a discussion that must be candidly held.
All right, as we wind up